and brilliant.
That's it. And I'll let everyone in, yeah?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, great. Is Vanessa ready with her slides? Good.
Wow.
Hey.
Look at that. Oh, seeing some beautiful familiar faces. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, great to see you, Andy.
Hi there.
Hi, Kevin. You're right.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So Luke's running this one. Great to see everyone.
Well, it's looking really good. We still got more guys piling in, so we'll probably just give it another, what do you reckon, Caroline? Another sort of minute, and then we'll kick off.
Yeah, a couple of minutes.
It's great to see you, Helen. Glad you could make it.
Hi, everyone.
We got loads still coming in. There's Beth, Amy jumping in. There's Chris. Chris, you don't look like you've got your tan from Mabaya going on there. What happened?
I don't tan, mate. You know, I've got very pink skin. So, yeah, it's I burn, or I'm red or white, basically.
I thought it was you spent too much time in the pub and not enough on the golf course.
There's that as well. Yeah, there's that. True. Very true.
Okay, yeah, we still got a couple more guys coming in, so let's give it another little section. We've got such an action-packed session for you guys that I don't want to start too late. I think the only person that we're waiting for, I can't see on screen, but maybe is Steve Bradstock. Is Steve there? Not as yet. Okay. So there's obviously quite a bit of interest in cybersecurity. So I must just tell everybody that Vanessa is so calm under pressure as a superintendent. How do I put it? A detective superintendent is the correct terminology. That you clearly are calm under pressure, Vanessa, because that was getting the deck up, but you just look completely casual. So looking forward to your session today. It's going to be brilliant. And it looks like everybody else is too. So Caroline, can you see Steve anywhere as yet? So I'd like to kick us off.
I'm having a nightmare here.
Oh, somebody's having a nightmare.
Okay, well,
No.
we can always jump in with Steve at the halfway point. So first off, thank you everybody for joining us. This is really the first BizSmart Birmingham event. We've got our social media team in the room today. Callan will be looking after you. She's going to pop some stuff into the chat box. So if you do have any questions, because it's going to be a high-speed presentation that we're going to do today, a lot of information to cover in a short period of time, we're not going to have that opportunity for us to all ask lots of questions. But if you do pop your questions in there, Callan will also share the tags for social media. So if you ask any of your questions on the DMs, we will make sure that we get back to you. And I did not sound authentic saying that, but anyway, somebody will do that for you. So please do, if you've got any questions as you're going along, just pop them into the chat box or use the social media links, and we will definitely get back to you in the next couple of days. Now, the other thing that we love doing at BizSmart is connecting all these beautiful business owners. So all of you folks that are sitting in the room today, because we're not going to have that opportunity for peer-to-peer conversation today, as I say, because we're going to be moving at quite a high pace, please do join us on at Scale Up Club on Tuesday in the beginning of December. Hopefully all your folks will be in there. We'd love for you guys all to get to know each other a lot more and definitely do business together. So look out for that event. Also, if everybody could just rename, make sure that you got all your details up there so that if somebody does want to connect with you, they know where to find you after this particular event. But after having said all of that, we are going to kick off the presentation. We're going to start with Vanessa, who, as I mentioned, is part of the West Midlands Police Force. She's very kindly taken this sort of we've been on this mission to try and make sure that our clients are growing safely and understand the challenges that are out there. And I've been having lots of chats with Vanessa, and she's an amazing person. And in the conversation, she was saying, well, how do we share this information? How do we get out there? And today is the first time of us doing that. So Vanessa is going to be talking to us about while we're growing, how do we stay safe? How do we stay secure? What does it mean when we talk about cyber and being safe and all of those sorts of things? So with us today, I know you're also going to be chatting to us a little bit about the end as to how we can all benefit from being more closely associated with you and how our clients can as well. So we look forward to that. But with no more words from me, let's hand over to Vanessa. And yeah, let's give it a go.
Excellent. Thank you, Luke. It's such a pleasure doing business with you and also with BizSmart. So thank you so much for hosting me. I'm now going to try and share my screen. So please bear with me while I try and do that. Can you see that?
We can. We're seeing your notes rather. So we're yeah.
Yeah, you just want to go to the full view, the full slide.
Full slide. Okay. I'm going to try and work out how to do the magic of that.
You go to slide 2, don't you?
I think somebody was trying to help me there. I don't know.
You're on mute, Beth.
I think, Vanessa, if you go to slideshow at the top there.
At the top, yeah, top middle, there you go.
That's what I was trying to say.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Excellent. I am Vanessa Isles. As Luke said, I am a detective superintendent. So last year I was promoted to that rank and promoted to the role of being the director of the West Midlands Cyber Resilience Centre. So this is it's a really exciting role where although I'm a police officer and I've got lots of things that I do in my day job, like authorising certain covert tactics, my main job is director of the Resilience Centre. So we are part government funded. We are not for profit and police led. So we are part of the Home Office programme, which is trying to reach as many businesses as possible across the region to ensure that they become cyber resilient. So what does that mean? What's the threat to businesses across the West Mids region? So here's a couple of attacks that have taken place recently. West Mercia Police launches an investigation into a cyber breach at Bishop of Hereford's Bluecoat School. That was weeks ago. A cyber attack has led to some branches of the works to close their doors. They couldn't accept payments fully, and as a result, they suffered as a result of that cyber attack. I think that took me about 4 minutes to not only find those attacks on Google, but also include those on this PowerPoint. It is so easy to find examples of cyber attacks on businesses, large and small. So what's next then? They don't attack small businesses because we've got no spare money. That is simply not true. What they are doing is they are attacking for information, for data. They can then sell that onto the dark web, post it, and then other people will use it to hold. But also some of them will simply want to shut you down just because it's something that they like to do. There's lots of different reasons for people doing cyber attacks. So some of the top reasons, there are other countries who want to destabilize our business economy. There are other countries who want to destabilize us as an act of war, and attacking small businesses is a part of their agenda. Some people want to attack businesses because they are disgruntled ex-employees. That's a big one. So make sure you do your exit interviews really well. But there are other people. There are people who want to make a lot of money on the dark web. There are pages where cyber attackers, they've got pages on the dark web, and it looks apparently very similar to eBay, and they ask for feedback, and they've got call centers, and they've got methods of payment, and star ratings. So that's how big business cyber attacking is from the dark web. But then there are other people like your disgruntled teenagers who've got nothing better to do. They're not going to play Wordle on a Thursday evening, or Sudoku. I think I'm showing my age there with those two hobbies, but they would much rather see if they could hack into a school business or the local business up the road that didn't employ them for a Saturday job, and on and on and on. Many SMEs are going bust within their first 12 to 24 months because of cyber attacks. And in a cyber attack, a business will not only lose their clients, but they will lose their reputation. So it's a serious matter. The digital economy is worth £400 million per day. I mean, some of these statistics are old, and the figures have grown hugely. Cyber attacks are happening every day, and they cost billions to consumers, to businesses. The government has graded cyber attacks as a tier 1 national security threat. One of the sectors that I constantly try to focus attention on is the agricultural sector, because they are part of the national critical infrastructure. So imagine if they went down as businesses. You couldn't get milk, or you couldn't get flour out to the shops. Hugely important issues. So I'm working with academia, and I'm working with businesses to counter these attacks. If you see that on a Monday morning when you log into your computer systems, or you're onto your phone, or onto your website, you are going to have a terrible week, month, year. That means that you have had every single record seized, and you cannot access your customer records, banking details, any of your previous client information. You probably can't access your website, your Facebook, your Twitter account, your LinkedIn maybe. You can't pay people, you can't receive payment. Everything has stopped.
I've only got one question.
So a brief example, a WannaCry attack, which happened in 2017. You can see the statistics here. Now, the NHS had a huge number of IT teams, but look at the impact of this attack. 1,200 pieces of diagnostic equipment were infected. When I say infected, so if you have got records or designs for a customer, and if you've been hacked, then those designs are infected. In the same way that a piece of equipment in a factory could be infected with, let's say, a gas or a liquid. As soon as you've been hacked, everything is infected and cannot be trusted. It may still have malicious infections on there, but also your records or your descriptions may have been changed or harmed. And obviously you can see the cost there. You don't really work online, do you? Well, let's go through these quick questions. Have you got a desktop computer? Do you have business records or files on it? Or do you use a laptop? I know a lot of people do these days. Maybe you use that to send out bills or emails to your customers, or to your clients or your supply chain. Do you use your mobile phone for your business? Are there apps on there such as Sage or Dextbooks or QuickBooks and things like that? How do you do your banking? Probably online. You probably do your tax return online as well. All of those records, those details could be hacked. Where do you store your performance information, such as your daily, weekly targets, your contact lists? I know that I can't remember anybody else's mobile number except for my own. It's not because I don't love my family, but I don't memorize those mobile numbers. So if my mobile phone was shut down, I wouldn't know how to contact my husband, my daughter. So imagine that with your own customers, with your own clients, subcontractors. And then here we say, you know, so photos, designs, specifications. So for example, I've got a family member who has got a wedding photography business. Imagine if every single photograph from a wedding was hacked into and stolen from you in a cyber attack. Not only would you be devastated, but the business reputation would be shockingly harmed. And obviously a website, taking down your website, you can't receive orders, you can't advertise what you can do. A lot of people do business on Facebook, and a lot of Facebook attacks happen these days. So there's some figures there, which I'm just going to sort of canter through a little bit here. Obviously, phishing attacks and impersonation attacks are huge. A lot of businesses are suffering attempts at least on a weekly basis. Obviously, after COVID, businesses have remained very much online. A lot of people working from home, and sometimes the policies that a business has about safe online working, those policies aren't touching home working, home devices. So you've really got to have a think about that. Think about your business continuity plans and how it covers a cyber attack. It's all good and well talking about, actually, if my business was flooded, what do we do? If the delivery van was stolen, what would we do? What about if all of your IT systems went down? So I'm just trying to keep an eye on the time. Who commits? I've already touched on this. Bitter ex-employees are a big one, and the police often have examples of investigations. Unfortunately, teenagers with nothing better to do. I don't like to call them keyboard warriors. They're not warriors. They're not brave, but they do attack. So there's lots of examples there. And the bottom one does highlight the fact that the Russia-Ukraine war has brought in more attacks to Britain from Russia and also from its allies. There was a concert recently within the Midlands to raise money for the Ukraine, and they were receiving cyber attacks approximately every 15 minutes during that concert. And it wasn't just to the venue that the concert was being held in, it was also in some of the associated businesses. And so one of those associated businesses, their canteen and their ordering system was attacked. So it really is widespread. So what can you do to stay as safe as possible? Bury your head in the sand and let me know when it's over? No. Hello, IT, have you tried turning it off and on again? No, it won't work. Unplugging at the socket doesn't work. Buying a new laptop doesn't work. And obviously smashing it doesn't work, although you might feel like it if you see a WannaCry attack. Okay, so the Cyber Resilience Centre for the West Midlands, we cover the 4 police force areas: West Midlands, West Mercia, Warwickshire and Staffordshire. There is one of us in every region across England and Wales. So what can you do? There are 10 easy steps that we talk about. And if you join our centre for the free membership, then you would get all of this information sent to you and information about how to do it. So back up your data is a really easy one. It's ironic that actually making records and keeping them elsewhere would help if you were attacked, but also for that standard business continuity. If you have accidents such as fire, flooding, if you've got backup records, then you are good to go as soon as you can get up and running. Protect from malware, make sure that you put your antivirus software on. Keep your IT up to date. Old devices can't be updated. As a result, they are vulnerable to attacks. So we call it patching within the business. Make sure you do your patching, make sure you update all of your packages, your software. But with old IT, you can't use those patches. Use encryption, it's really valuable. So if anything was stolen, if your laptop was stolen, nobody could see what goes on. Now, the next one, number 5, reduce the usage of USB sticks, especially free USB sticks. Don't use them. Consider them, if they're free, consider them as almost as damaging to your business as a cancer stick. Don't use them, they're not worth it. Keep your devices safe physically, so don't leave them by the window ledge, don't leave them in the van overnight. Make sure that you lock them up and keep them safe, and make sure that you can wipe them if they do get stolen. Public Wi-Fi, never safe. It's something that's free and it's not good for you. A particular place is airports. Hackers can sit nearby, they can get into your device, see what you're doing, they can see the passwords that you put into your laptop, and then they're good to go. Regular, strong password usage. It's free, it's effective. 3 random words is something people will often recommend, or a phrase. So, for example, I know somebody who uses a phrase which is similar to, no, he recommends, similar to, I like running in the morning as a password. It's easy to remember. He puts a couple of capital letters in, maybe a pound sign or something like that. It just helps you make it achievable, but you must make sure your passwords are strong and regularly updated. Phishing attacks are regularly used to attack businesses. Try and think about some of these sort of old-fashioned concepts here. Is there an offer that's too good to be true? Well, do you know what? If it's too good, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Urgent requests for money. So if you work with another business, let's imagine I have a supply chain who supply me with paper cups, and the director of that business I get an email from the business, looks a bit strange to their usual layout of emails, and it's saying that Billy, who's in charge of that cup making business, needs some help, just as a one-off, mate, please can you transfer some money? No. And don't necessarily trust on the phone number that's on that email to phone, because that could be a phone number through to the hacker's answering machine service. So just be really careful for those urgent requests for money. The concept of click here and give us your information, don't do it. The supply, is it DPD, have got your parcel. If you don't pay us now, we'll send it back. Just be really careful, especially on the build up to Christmas. What we often find is that supply chains are attacked by hackers so that they can get through the supply chain into bigger companies. Now, what's starting to happen is bigger companies are requesting that their supply chains are cyber safer, and I'll come onto that shortly. So we'll go through that. So Cyber Resilience Centre, as I say, police-led, Home Office funded, we're not for profit. So I'm not trying to make any money for myself. I am simply trying to make businesses across the region cyber safer so that the whole of the region becomes more resilient. So our free core membership is the call to action. So we have an exercise in a box. We've got a board toolkit, which is how you can explain maybe to your board or your director or your business owner that cyber does need a little bit of money. We've got the NCSC guide. So there's National Cyber Security Centre. So the 10 steps to cyber security. We also have a free half-hour consultation with my deputy to talk about what your concerns are, and you get monthly newsletters. It's really good, it's free, and it will help you become cyber safer. Moving on. Okay, so we also offer student services. So the partnership that I have is police, business and academia. So with the academia is cyber university students, and we provide a number of services with those cyber students, but they are supervised and they are affordable in comparison with most private sector services. These are really relevant to smaller businesses and will help you become cyber safer. And that one on the left, cyber security awareness training, is particularly popular and helpful. Cyber Essentials is a government scheme to create a standard level of cyber security. If you want to go for a big contract or you want to get cyber insurance, things like that, often Cyber Essentials is an absolute standard that must be achieved, and we at the Cyber Resilience Centre can help you attain that with some of our experts who are our trusted partners. They are IASME accredited and they will help you. So there you go. Come to the West Midlands Cyber Resilience Centre today to start improving your cyber security. And I'm now going to stop sharing.
Vanessa, thank you so much for that. That was so insightful. I think all the folks sitting in the room will have a clear indication as to why we wanted to have you along today, because you're so knowledgeable and so passionate about helping our businesses grow, which we also, we similarly feel the same at BizSmart, that we want to help our businesses get to the next level. But a couple of things I just want to pick up on. Normally we'd have some questions, but I know we're short of time today. But, the concept of the fact that this is going to be something that businesses are going to be looking for in the future, so how cyber safe we are we trading safely? And a part of sharing the message today was so that we could really make sure our businesses that we look after are ahead of the game, that are thinking about this already. And so thank you so much for sharing that, because one of the things we talk about is, why do you lose a client, or why did somebody stop taking your services? We often think it might be related to a service that we offer or pricing points or something like that, but it's not. It often boils down to something like apathy, of not feeling special or not feeling like that you are a valued customer. And what we'd like to do today is just to encourage all of us, as we're sitting here, is to think about how we use the Cyber Centre to make our clients feel more comfortable that we're actually thinking about them, that they are top of mind, that their security is important to us, and we want to make sure that we're delivering on those things. There's a great opportunity for us to show a lot of love to our clients by saying that we are cyber aware, that we're doing these things. So thank you very much for that, Vanessa. Really, really appreciate that. Now, there are a number of folks in the room that have some cyber experience. But I'm just going to ask Steve quickly, maybe just to jump in. Steve Bradstock, if you could maybe just share a couple of minutes, because you obviously are in the industry, for any comments on that you would like to share.
Morning, Luke. Afternoon, Luke. Afternoon, everyone. I just want to reiterate simply some of the points that were made earlier. Firstly, the effect on a business is disaster in most cases. We have rescued a company that was actually down for over 6 weeks. And if I tell you the company turns over about $500 million a year, you'll see the size of the challenge. That was probably the most extensive one. As a business, really, it's about limiting your exposure. The exposure for businesses mainly is around emails and passwords, are the two highest risk areas. With a business, though, incorporating cybersecurity into your business, you've got to be able to balance operational capability versus security. Cyber insurance is going to be a part and parcel of everyone's insurance policy soon, and currently they haven't quite got it right in order to meet the policy requirements. You've basically got to lock down your business so it can't function. So managing risk is the other important thing. The biggest and most important thing for cyber protection is data backups. Nobody is invulnerable. The big companies, the small companies, they're all as vulnerable. And having not just one backup procedure, our company operates on a 5-point system where we back data at 5 different ways. So far, we've experienced probably about a dozen cyber attacks. If your backup procedures are correct, you should be able to get a system back up and running within 8 or 9 hours. That's my experience of it, awareness and backups. Thanks, Luke.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for adding some extra color to that presentation, Vanessa. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to hand over. We're very fortunate that Kevin is going to be talking a little bit about decision making, and I think very congruent with the message today is, are we thinking about the things we're doing, and are we being very specific and strategic? So with that, Kevin, we'd love to hear from you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So hopefully you'll see my screen there. So yes, how do I follow Vanessa, that's going to be certainly going to be a big challenge. But certainly, as Luke was saying, it's going to have a quick look at how we make decisions and how that might be relevant back to our cyber. Those of you that have heard me talk a number of times will know these figures by now. Only 4% of businesses scale beyond 10 employees, and Vanessa was talking about the number of businesses that go out of business in the first couple of years, and it's certainly in excess of 20% of businesses that fail within their first year. Why do some businesses make it? Others don't. Well, one of the reasons is that they get this right between the strategy and the execution piece. So yes, we've got to do all the strategic thinking, but we've got to be good on the execution, and that includes managing risk as part of it, clearly. So, what are we going to do to make sure that we're in that top 10% of businesses where we're great at the strategy, but also great at that follow through? And as business owners, we've got lots and lots of decisions, to make every minute of the day, pretty much. We're always making decisions. And one of the things that we're about at Bismarck really is helping business owners to make better decisions on a consistent basis. So how do we think about doing that? And I thought I'd take a quick look at the way we make decisions. And the use of the iceberg here is to illustrate the fact that our conscious mind, our conscious decision making, actually only represents that tip of the iceberg. The vast majority of our decisions and the people within our businesses, our team's decisions, are based from our unconscious mind. They're based on instinct and intuition. We use shortcuts based on what we've experienced, what we've learned. They can be our cultural backgrounds, our personal experiences, all sorts of things, which is great because that means that we can make quick, instant gut decisions. We make decisions about people, don't we, straight away. But the snag is that we can be wrong quite a lot of the time. And here's a little challenge for you. Maybe people can put an answer in the chat here. We'll see who gets or somebody can shout out. But if a bat and a ball together cost £1.10, and the bat costs £1 more than the ball, how much does the ball cost? Anybody? Quick answer. I can see Luke's put it up. Anybody thinking 10 pence? It's probably a few people thinking 10 pence, and we wouldn't be alone. Over half of university students from top universities, when asked this, came up with 10 pence. Well, it's not 10 pence. And if we thought about it for a few minutes and we went back to our school days and our simultaneous equations, we'd very quickly be able to prove that actually the ball is 5 pence. But that's an example of how our intuition comes up with an answer, must be the right answer, but it isn't. We're biased in many sorts of ways as well. It's not just about that gut feel, but it's also about, and they can be biased. And this was a study done where CVs were sent out to HR professionals, and the CVs were the same. There was a set of CVs, identical CVs, but there were two sets. One had English people's names or English sounding people's names on the top of the CV, and the other had foreign country people, not necessarily Italian. I think all the names on this are Italian, but all over the world names. And the ones that had English sounding names, so they've got all the same details within the CV, had a 24% favorable response rate. The ones with foreign sounding names had a 15%, and that was the only difference was the name. So this isn't deliberate. This is our subconscious mind just seeing it and just coming up with decisions. What about accents in the UK? Anyone want to have a guess? I'll give you three numbers. What percentage of hiring managers in the UK admit to a negative bias towards individuals with certain regional accents? Is it 10, 80, or 30? Anyone want to come up with a number?
I'd say 10.
Yeah, Claire's and Nigel, I can see it put 80. They're correct. So 80%, and this was run by Peninsula, admit to that. Guess which regional accents don't come out favorably? I'll tell you. Birmingham is one of them. London, and I think Cockney is another one. Liverpool, Newcastle, and Glasgow were the ones that came out bottom of the pile in terms of who we trust. So we're all biased. There's another type of bias, which is around confirmation bias. So if we believe something, then we're going to reinforce that belief when we see some information. So if we believe that everybody on flexible working is at home lying on their sofa sort of watching YouTube videos and tapping the keyboards, maybe occasionally answering an email, then and I can see the accent chats are still going in the chat, but if we believe that and then we make a phone call and they don't answer the phone call straight away, we're going to automatically assume that they're not working properly. Whereas if we have somebody that we think really is trustworthy in the office or whatever else, and they answer the phone straight away, that's going to reinforce that belief. So we have to be careful about those biases. Here's a question: true or false? Economists have found that the best looking people make on average during their lifetime a lot more money than less attractive people. True or false? Well, it's true. Yes, a few people put true into the chat. So the economist Daniel Hammermesh, what a great name, reckons that beautiful people, and how you classify who's beautiful or not, I don't know, but apparently beautiful people make on average £250,000 more over their lifetime than can I say ugly people? I don't know if I can say it, but anyway, I just did. So if I tell you this this table and chairs, it's a wonderful table and chairs. It's £8,000 for this table and chairs. What do we think? Oh, Luke thinks it's great value. Blimey, he must have more money around than I do. I'd be going there thinking, blimey, £8,000 for a table. That's a load of money. But now if I tell you that actually you can have it for £3,000, yeah, somebody said expensive, £3,000, then there's probably a few of us that are going, actually, oh, gosh, that's a £5,000 bargain. That's pretty good, even though £3,000 is probably still a load of money for that table and chairs, right? So we can influence people with how we position our messaging. And why am I going on about bias? Well, a significant amount of business is around making the right decisions, and if we're not careful, we can get sucked into all of these biases, most of them subconscious biases. And you've only got to take a look at the news with Donald Trump and all the fake tweets that he was doing in terms of positioning and trying to bias us when he's in power. And cybersecurity can be a little bit the same, in that we can get bombarded by things that some of them are true, some of them are not. And if we're not careful about biases, then we can get sucked into making the wrong decisions. So I've just picked out 4 key types of bias that might affect us from a cyber resilient cybersecurity point of view. One of those is what might be called an availability or recency bias. If it's all hot in the news, then fine. Maybe that's going to make our decisions in a certain way, which could be right or not. But if we're seeing lots of information about it and it's current, we're probably more likely to be thinking about it. But if we haven't had any attacks or haven't heard of any attacks recently or had any exposure to it, then maybe it goes off our radar a little bit and it doesn't come into our decision making, and we fool ourselves that actually maybe everything's all right. And in fact, that confirmation bias, and Vanessa was talking about that, and some of the wrong facts that we might have, it doesn't affect local businesses like me. Well, if we believe that to be true, and then we see all the stats about big businesses having it, then maybe that's just going to reinforce that it's actually the bigger businesses that are affected by it. There's that optimism bias as well. That's I guess that's the burying our head in the ostrich burying its head in the sand. It'll be okay. We'd cope even if we hadn't. It wouldn't happen to us, and even if we had one, we'd probably be all right. Well, maybe not. And there is that framing bias as well. I was talking about with the table and the chairs, and certainly we see that all the time, don't we, with the phishing emails, and we know increasingly they're trying to look as if they come from really official sources. And certainly, I've been told, and I've seen some of the quality of some of these, it's very hard sometimes to actually see that it is fake. It's no longer is it so obvious, and it's it's my this friend of mine in Nigeria that's left me £10 million and whatever. They're actually really quite sophisticated, very sophisticated and very clever. So how do we, let's just think a little bit. How does this all come into our decision making? And if we want to build up our skills in anything, right? And cyber is the same, business is the same. then we go through what's called this competence pathway. And at the very start of it, we really don't know what we don't know. That's the unconscious incompetence, right? So we know a lot of what Vanessa's done with us today is brought that to our minds a bit more. But what about the rest of our teams back in the office that aren't on this call today? Are they in blissful ignorance about the problem? Are they unconsciously incompetent? Or actually, how do we move then, if they are, to that consciously incompetent? Now, that may still sound a little bit rude, but actually now at least we're aware that's a problem. So we can start to look at, but we realize that we actually don't know enough. So maybe we should make touch with Vanessa and go on her core membership program, so that actually we're starting to learn, and the rest of the team are starting to realize that actually there is something we need to know about. And that might move us up to that consciously competent, where actually now we have to think about cybersecurity a bit more, but we know a little bit more about what we're doing, and we just have to double check everything, but maybe we can do it. And eventually maybe we'll move to the point where actually our gut feel, as I was going back to at the beginning, is perhaps a bit more correct, and we can gut feel that that probably isn't something that we should be doing, or that this is the right way through, and we master that skill. And if we look at it from just from the that initial bit, the danger when we're unconsciously incompetent at something, when we don't know what we don't know, is that our intuition is wrong. So we do something on gut feel, but it's almost certainly going to be wrong. As we go up, then fine, we do some analysis, but we're probably still making the wrong decisions. But at least we're thinking about it and doing. But now we're doing the right analysis when we get to conscious competence, and then eventually the right intuition. So that's whether we're mastering any skill, that's what we're trying to get to. So how do we move from being unconsciously incompetent, if that's where we are, or even consciously incompetent to it? And if we're thinking cyber, how do we get our whole team up there as well, not just us as the leaders within the business? And of course, the first is the awareness and the understanding, which is great. So we started that journey a bit, and I know we probably all know something about cyber before, but what can we do to educate our team a little bit more? And then it's about habits, so that it's constantly reinforced, and it's not just something that you've done once and then you fire and forget. So it's about that execution word that I mentioned right at the beginning, and doing things well, so we don't get caught in that recency bias, if you like, or the lack of recency. So it's around habits. And when we go back to the first chart I showed with 10% with getting the strategy and execution right, a lot of it is around the right habits and building those into the business. And one of the things that we do within business is very much around 90-day planning. But if we look at the scale up journey that you may have seen me present before, and these ladders of success against the key milestones, the numbers are in terms of people, by the way. But look at the arrows. That's when we have a little valley of death in between each of these nice, efficient points where the business can work really well. And cyber is one of those things. I often talk about the positive things, what do we need to do to move from one step to the other? But of course, the negative things, like getting a cyber attack, can just drag us right back and hold us down in one of those valleys, if not kill the business completely, as we mentioned. So we need to take all of those things into account when we're making our decisions. And 90-day planning is a great habit to get into, because we're going to do all of these things. It gives us that clarity, that alignment with everybody, but if we do it with the team, but it also gives us that flexibility, because what it means is we've got the right people coming in, and if we have the right business rhythm in between the 90 days as well, then we're getting those right decisions being made, the right people in there, and we're on top of things, including cyber. As well as keeping the communication great, and clear responsibilities. And that helps us to bridge that gap between the strategy and the execution by getting alignment as well from others within the business or around us. And if we get that right on a consistent basis, we're making better decisions every time. All those small and simple actions that we're doing and improvements that we're making add up to have a big cumulative effect over time, and also will stop us then being dragged back by some of these risks that we haven't maybe identified properly and mitigated for. So Luke, that's really all I wanted to say. Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, that'll be great, Kevin. Thank you so much. I want to make a couple of observations, but before we do that, Nigel's got his hand up. So I just wondered if we could go to Nigel if he's got a question for you.
I mentioned, I wanted to reach out what Kevin was just saying. I obviously can't say the names, but two of our big customers were both hit by cyber attacks on Friday. Both, despite all the things we tried to do with them, didn't want to go the necessary steps. They both paid just over 20 grand.
Wow.
Just to fix their problems on Saturday and Sunday. Now, both of them don't want anybody to know. And that's part of the problem with what you were just saying, Kevin, is that people are not aware because a lot of the people that are getting hit don't want anybody to know that they've been hit. So just as an aside, it is a massive problem at the moment, and more goes under the radar. And Vanessa and I were talking the other day about this thing, but more goes under the radar than comes out there, and it is a real problem.
Yeah, Nigel, that's thank you for sharing that, because that really does help us just contextualize, what is being said. But I know Amy Deacon also had something that she wanted to share from a similar experience. So maybe Amy, we can just jump across to you before we do a quick wrap up.
Yeah, sure. Just a quick one. So in a previous job, we actually were hit many years ago. So this isn't a new thing by any means, by a phishing email that our person in finance thought was legitimate. They thought it was our CEO confirming to make an urgent payment, and they actioned the payment. So I'm not going to obviously disclose the company name, but we were surprised that we were hit, and that was a fair few years ago. And the other example is, I work for Western Union Business Solutions now, so we work with businesses that trade internationally all day, every day. And one of our businesses in the peak of COVID was trying to buy some PPE. And at the peak of COVID, there was a whole lot of fraud around the PPE piece. And we had a call for an urgent payment to be made to a new beneficiary because they changed their bank details. So it was a new beneficiary. And our guys basically questioned our client to say, are you sure this is genuine? Have you spoken to them direct? What number did you call? And it turns out that this PPE company didn't exist, that the person that had authorised the payment at head office had received a call from a fellow colleague from another office overseas, and they'd spoofed the phone number and taken the identity of said director in a different country to authorise the payment. And they were that close to transferring £150,000. But through us saying you need to proactively get a separate number to contact your colleague that they haven't given you, and they then realised it was a fraud attempt. So it's rife, it's everywhere, it's not new, it's just the reporting is getting a bit better, but it's still hidden. Yeah.
Amy, thank you so much for that. Again, just kind of highlights what we've been talking about today. And the reason why we put this call on was I'd shared, as I mentioned in social media, I had a similar experience. In fact, I was meeting with Kevin and we were just rushing around trying to get a whole lot of things done. And I'd shared the experience that I had with Vanessa, and that's why we're here today, is because it happens to all of us and it can happen to any of us. And essentially, if you look at some of the language that's being used by all of our guest speakers, in fact, it's orchestrated, it's sophisticated, it's all of these kinds of things that we as small business owners, who, thank you so much, Vanessa, for highlighting the fact that we are in fact the target market. We are people that are being approached for these, through these kinds of activities, these criminal activities. So when you think about orchestrated, you think about sophisticated, you think about these people that are sitting there trying to figure out how to get money out of your pocket. What do we do about that? Are we going to allow that to happen? We simply can't allow that to happen. That's why we put on the call today. So I want to just touch on a little bit about what Kevin was talking about as to how do we kind of mitigate these things, having a good business rhythm and good business habits. And what does that mean? That means that you're thinking about the things that you're doing, that you don't have knee-jerk reactions to certain things. It's all part of the plan. It's part of the process. You've thought about it. You're making those decisions well in advance of any craziness that might come out of the woodwork. Is exactly what happened to me. I was rushing around a whole bunch of things. Mine wasn't exactly where it needed to be. And the thing that saved me was just having one step back. And if you think about good business habits, and you think about all of those things that Kevin was talking about making good decisions, if we just give ourselves that time, we've got good process, good habits, all of those things are going to protect us. Then I want to add to what Steve was saying, or just highlight what Steve was saying. And in fact, also Nigel, thank you so much for mentioning that, Nigel, is that there are products and services out there that we can use to protect ourselves. So first things, make sure we all sign up with Vanessa, make sure that we get access to the latest information so that we can really protect ourselves, and then make sure we invest wisely in these things, because, habits are so important. When we start out with something, it seems like such a pain and a frustration. Oh goodness, you know, all these different processes I have to jump through. But if it saves you, as Amy just highlighted, 150 grand, you're probably going to love that habit for the rest of your life. You're going to think, well, why the heck weren't we doing that all the time? So it really is, if you just take everything away today, and maybe Kevin, if I can ask you just to reshare those slides, because the information that we've shared with you today, I really want you just to think about, how does it kind of impact you? What are we going to do? So what actions are you going to take, and what will the benefits that will make, and when are you going to do it? Because it's very key that whatever we decide we're going to do, to make sure that we don't fall victim of this, that we have a time set to it. When will you do it? And again, speaking to the Smart 90 plans, if any of you guys want to build those into your rocks, please do make sure that it is a part of your rock thinking for when we do our quarterly. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, please just send us a message, and someone in the team will get in touch with you and just kind of help you out with that thinking. But do make sure that it's something central to your business for the next quarter, something that you are thinking about, that you're mindful about. Just a couple of quick reminders from me. Callan has shared the Scale Up Club. Love to get you guys all back into the Scale Up Club, because we'd like for you guys to get to know each other a lot more, to be trading, to doing some business with each other in a safe, cyber-friendly way. And that is essentially our session for the day. So thank you all so much for your participation. Again, a massive thank you to Vanessa for taking the time to share with us. Please, guys, I do encourage you to get in touch with her, because she adds a lot of value. Kevin, once again, as always, absolute pleasure to have you on board, and everybody else that contributed. I know that Steve, Nigel, and Amy, I appreciate it. I know a few more of you I would have loved to have spoken to you as well today, but time was short. So hopefully we'll have a good chance to have a good chat when we get together at Scale Up Club. Thank you all very much, and enjoy your day.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Cheers, guys.